So it all starts in just a random day. A guy sitting under an apple tree. An apple fell. Apparently, it hit his head. Instead of just eating the apple, the guy decided to do some studies of some sort, of which up until today, we are still committed to the work that he implemented, which we never even wanted to be part of it. But because of the system, somehow we have to pass physics and impress our parents. When you look at this guy, Isaac Newton, what comes to your mind? Do you understand his laws? Do you remember Newton's second law? Do you remember Newton's first law? Now, if you are struggling from Newton's first law or second law, you've tuned into the right channel, because today, your confusion regarding Newton's first law or second law is about to be clarified, and your knowledge regarding the laws and the application of the laws, it's about to be amplified. For this is Simplified RSA, the guys who make it look easy. This is what's coming up today. Stay tuned. History goes in different segments. So we have a historical subject, which is history, the one that we see in our schools, right? But there's like mainly history of everything. Let's talk about what could be the main problem that gets students to find Newton's laws confusing. Because to be honest, the laws is just about an object would be either to stop the object from moving at a constant velocity, or so now, as you know, I like to explain. Look at it like this. Newton's first law, we call
Simplified RSA, the guys who makes it looks easy. Your number one learning channel.
Good day, everyone. I welcome you again to another segment of Simplified RSA, the guys who make it look easy. So today we are looking into physics, mainly Newton's first law and Newton's second law. Now, in most cases, it worries me like so bad, like it pains my heart to see people lose marks on such, I could say, a simpler part on the physics paper, because we have other complicated questions. But I felt like for Newton's first law and second law, a lot of people are expected to at least accumulate those marks, of which the things that we're going to talk about today might give us an idea of how to approach such questions and never, ever, ever, ever get them wrong again. But here's the thing. I like history. And when I say I like history, not history as a subject that we learn in the South African curriculum, because now there are different historical events that led us to where we are right now. So I don't really care about the history of how John van Riebeeck came to South Africa and for us to end up being here. Well, I do care about it, but I don't really look at it as like a change. Well, it affects my life. Actually, let me not talk about that one for now. Now we have the past event about Isaac Newton's. We have the past event about how the Bible was actually developed. We have the past event of how do we end up having religions. And amongst all those historical events, there happened to be scientists that created some laws and theorems that became so big in the educational factor such that we use them to improve our lives today. That is the history that we should all take interest on. But hey, I'm not advising on what interest of historical events should anyone focus on, because there is a history of what did I have for breakfast today. There is a history of last year at this time, where was I? Like I'm just saying history. So now let's talk about the history that involves Newton's first law and Newton's second law. Now, the story of Isaac Newton. How does it even start? Before I even share what I want to share, I don't like how the world is mocking Sir Isaac Newton right now, because they make his discoveries seem like they were just like something that anyone could have thought of. Because as much as they seemed nothing at that time of discovery, most of the applications that comes with the rules of Newton's laws, and also Newton's contribution in the calculus field, a lot of those theories, they are the ones that we use today in our technologies of having to create vehicles to move around, or even us having to communicate through some technology through this video. I just feel like some of the concepts played a role to improve our world. But then it's just that when you look at it as going back, it could have been hard even for someone like us to come up with the whole definition or how we explain motion as of today. But before I say that, let me play this video of the mediocre of what Isaac Newton could have done according to how people look at it. Enjoy.
Hold up, let him cook. Did you know? An object will not move unless you move it. What? Really? This guy is a genius! And the heavier something is, the more force you need to move it. For real? Can you believe that? Yesterday, I was under a tree, relaxing. Then an apple fell on my head. And I asked myself, why did it fall down and not up? Because that's how falling works. No! Something pulls it down. What is it called, master? Gravity. Bro, shut up. That's why you can't pull no girls.
But because we live in a world where we don't appreciate innovation anymore, some of Newton's discoveries, they helped us to discover how to work with forces, such that we ended up being able to build bridges and build pyramids and stuff like that. And also in the process of building vehicles, the whole concept of acceleration and stuff. But like I say, story for another day. Let's talk about what could be the main problem that gets students to find Newton's laws confusing. Because, to be honest, the laws is just about an object will remain at rest, or even if it was not at rest, if it was moving at a constant velocity such that it has no acceleration, it's going to continue like that unless a force is acted upon on the object, which is, it would be either to stop the object from moving at a constant velocity, or from the object not moving at all but starting to move because there was a force that acted on it. So that's the first law. The second law is saying now that because the object is now moving, it will continue moving at that, and the force that you apply is directly proportional to the acceleration that the car is moving at. Well, maybe I'm saying this a bit too much. Let me take a step back and explain exactly what the laws are saying. So now, as you know, I like to explain. Look at it like this. Newton's first law, we call it the law of inertia. That is the law that states that an object continues to rest if it was resting already. Because when you sleep, you're resting, right? So an object rests until a force acts on it. But you as an object, as a person who's sleeping, you are resting because you are not moving. You can't sleep while you walk or sleep while you run. You are at rest. In the mood like being at rest is the mood of the form that you are at that moment. So unless we push that bed where that guy is sleeping on, the bed will not move and the guy will not move. Unless we push the bed or we push the guy, it will remain like that. It will stay at rest unless acted on by a force. So now, there's another scenario where an object may be moving already. Like, for instance, a guy on a skateboard, he may move, and without even acceleration, suppose he's sliding down on a skateboard, no force applied, just on a constant velocity. The only way the guy can stop is if a force stops him that is opposite to him. Either he crashes on the brake like that, or either someone comes from the back and pull him backwards to stop. But at the end of the day, he would stay in that motion at a constant velocity unless force is acted upon on the person. That is the law of inertia. It's the very same law like when you are in a car and a car is heading to whatever direction it may be, at whatever velocity it may be, and then someone hits a brake. And then it stops as quickly as you can, such that you end up even hitting the back of the seat with your head. That's how you know that the law of inertia is being applied. That's Newton's first law. A body, objects remains in their state of rest, or they continue with the motion that they were on unless a force is acted upon by an external force to make the object stop. That's what we mean by the first law of Newton. Whereas on the other hand, Newton's second law is just saying to you, the force depends on the mass and the acceleration of an object. The bigger the mass, you may need a higher acceleration to move the object. But also, the bigger the product of mass and acceleration, remember, a product is the answer we get after multiplication. So when you multiply mass and acceleration, it can determine the size of the force. That's what Newton's second law is stating. So more acceleration, it means you are pushing the object faster. And that means it will accelerate greater, which means the force may be even big. So for someone who's pushing a lighter object compared to someone who's pushing a heavier object, the one who's pushing a heavier object may need a bigger mass to make the object to start to accelerate. Hence, we say the acceleration is directly proportional to the force, or the other way around. The force is directly proportional to the acceleration, hence the motion goes like that. So to summarize Newton's second law, all Newton is saying is force depends on mass and acceleration for us to determine the magnitude and the direction. As simple as that. So at the moment, I guess we can all see that the big elephant in the room is not understanding the rules as such. The big elephant in the room is actually having to understand free body diagram as well as vector diagrams, which is the main concept of Newton's laws. So before we get to the third law, on our next video, I will demonstrate how to apply Newton's first law type of a question as well as Newton's second law type of a question. Remember, the goal is to make the videos not to be as long for now, but we will explain how the whole concept goes. At the end of the day, if you are struggling from Newton's laws, like I say, don't worry, we will clarify everything because we are Simplified RSA, the guys who make it look easy. And also, if you need private lessons, feel free to contact us because we offer private lessons at a very reasonable amount, whereby we don't even consider how many hours do we teach you for. We just make sure we keep going until you understand for a fixed fee, a fixed monthly fee. So like an after days care, school type of a vibe. Otherwise, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel also because you get to have access of free lessons that we upload every now and then. And feel free to contact us whenever you can for those free lessons. Like I said, I am Mr. Mayamane. This is Simplified RSA. We are the guys who make it look easy for you. I'm out.